It's empathy for the walrus.
I've been friends with this individual for, God, it's got to be about 20 years ago. He did my show on WBAB radio on Sunday nights when we used to do a live thing on BAB. We were a blues show back then as well, but once in a while we bring in an extraordinary player that wasn't necessarily blues, but because we just wanted to share with the world what they were all about musically. We're going to do it again today. He plays for the kids at Stony Brook Hospital with me twice a year. He's going to be a part of our big fundraiser, as you heard me mention, for Emma Nelson, that beautiful little girl, on June 22nd. He's playing tonight at the Blue Parrot in Massapequa, and he's sitting right across from me right now, Randy Jackson. Good morning, Randy. How are you, my man?
I'm doing great, Mark. How about you?
It's good to have you with me. Little issue getting in here. You know what? This campus is crazy. If I gave you... Sometimes I get musicians that come up from the city and they say to me, "Just give me the address. I'm gonna GPS it."
Oh yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, if I would have written the directions down properly, I would have probably got here okay. But obviously, the first turn I missed, so
no big deal.
What are you going to do?
You're here, and I appreciate it, and it's good to have you. Before we get into some tunes, I wish you had the guitar in your hand already, but that's all right. I want to ask you, please, because there's been some misconceptions. People that know you and what you're all about don't really know the story based on the name Zebra that came out. Where did the name Zebra come from? Before Zebra, you were in a project called Shepherd's Bush.
Right.
When you were a teenager. Teenage days?
Yeah, close to it.
Let's talk about when that project began, who played in that band with you, and how it evolved into Zebra. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, that was Felix Hanneman's band. Felix, a bass player from Zebra. It was Felix's project. We played all of Felix's songs. Felix was the rhythm guitarist, lead vocalist in the band, and he brought me in to just play lead guitar. And we played for about a year together.
You guys grew up
Shepherd's Bush.
You guys grew up in the same town. How'd you cross paths? How'd you get to know each other before this?
We met through a mutual friend who was actually in the band, also a guy named Eldridge, and Eldridge was working in a bar that I was checking IDs at. I wasn't even old enough to be in the bar myself, and I'm checking IDs. Felix was working next door at a clothing store, and so we started rehearsing. We rehearsed for about a year. We did one or two gigs, and actually we did two gigs, and then that was it. The bass player and the drummer were getting too deep into the drug scene during the rehearsals. Not to say that we all weren't imbibing, but the rehearsals, we needed to at least straighten out a little bit, and I left the band at that point, and then. A couple of months later, Guy and I started playing together, and I met Guy through actually a friend of mine down in the French Quarter, and Guy and I started jamming, and then I asked Felix if he wanted to come play bass. He said he didn't know how to play the bass. I said, well, we'll learn together. So that's what we did, and that was like the beginning of Zebra.
The beginning of it all, and that was, how many years ago are we talking now?
That was
back in the early 80s.
Oh, no, it was 1974.
Oh, that was 74.
Yeah.
The first Zebra album came out, what, 80, 82?
82, yeah, 83. It took us a long time to get a deal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Let's, you know what? I'm holding the new CD in my hand, which we're going to be promoting big time today. Empathy for the Walrus, being a big Beatles guy that you are. You've worked with Jack Douglas, a big New York City producer who produced and engineered some projects with John Lennon and Yoko, on top of many, many others. Let's play, while you get the guitar out to get ready to play a few live things, let's play Norwegian Wood off the disc. It's a short one. It'll give you a couple of minutes to get set up, and let's share with people a little bit of Empathy for the Walrus CD, which came out when? Just last month?
Yeah, it was February.
Let's do it. Let's push this button right here, and we'll be back live with Randy Jackson.
And a girl, or should I say she once had me. She showed me her room. Isn't it good? Norwegian wood. She asked me to stay and she told me to sit anywhere. But I looked around and I noticed there wasn't a chair. I sat on a rug, biting my time, drinking her wine. We talked until 2, and then she said, it's time for bed. She told me she worked in the morning and started to laugh. I told her I didn't and crawled off to sleep in the bath. And when I awoke, I was alone, this bird had flown. So I lit a fire, isn't it good? Norwegian wood.
Sympathy for the Walrus CD.
No.
No what?
No sympathy.
Empathy. Empathy. You know what?
Come on, we're in college here.
I'm dyslexic. What can I tell you? The E looks like an S backwards. So
no, you're talking Rolling Stones. That's the problem.
Empathy for the Walrus.
Right.
Great tribute to the Beatles. What made you decide? I mean, you've been playing Beatles for years in your sets because you're so well known for your original tunes that have been played on FM radio since the '80s. Let's talk about when did you get influenced by Beatles? Were you a young guy yourself? Were you horsing around with Beatles tunes when you were in junior high and high school days?
No, I saw the Beatles in 1964. That was my first concert.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I was pretty influenced by them.
You know,
from
most
the get-go.
most musicians will tell me they saw the Beatles and Ed Sullivan, and that grabbed them. You actually saw the Beatles perform live.
Yes, I saw the Beatles perform live. Yeah, there were about, I'm going to say, 5,000 people watching the show. You know, it was in a high school football stadium in New Orleans. And actually, I'm wearing the shirt right here. Look, check this out.
Holy cow! I'm getting a picture of you wearing that today. You know, I gotta
now, of
capture
course, you know, it's kind of small on me right now.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I got it when I was 9.
The skinny, but what do you weigh the same now that you did then?
Yeah. My poor mom at birth, it was horrible.
I can only yell. Funny, very funny. You know, one thing I've always, one flaw you've always had is a lack of sense of humor. It's a shame that you've never been able. You've always been this dry guy that it's like pulling teeth to get to the.
I'm trying to catch on. You know.
You're still early in your career, so you've got time, Randy.
Yeah, I know.
Let's share with the world, if we can, what you do musically live. We're going to concentrate on some Beatles stuff in the beginning. This beautiful CD I'm holding, Empathy for the Walrus. What are we going to do first live?
In my life.
You good to go?
I hope so.
Well, here we go. Long Island Blues Warehouse. We change direction. We take a slight left turn this morning to give you Long Island Zone by way of New Orleans. Randy Jackson.
There are places I'll remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. All those places had their moments with lovers and friends. I still can recall some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all.
But of all these friends and lovers, there is no one who compares with you. And these memories lose their meaning when I think of love as something new. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I've loved you more. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I've loved you more. In my life. Oof, it's too early in the morning. In my life, I've loved you more.
Oh yeah, Long Island's own Randy Jackson. I got to tell you, when you paused, then my knee-jerk reaction was to take that line, which I promised my wife I would never do on the radio. When you came up and played for the kids on the pediatric floor the last time, about a month ago, and you've been doing it twice a year for the past few years with me, which has been, you're so well received when you're up there doing it. You did a song for a baby about a year old, maybe 14, 15 months old. Mother holding the baby, little tube up the baby's nose. The mother's holding the baby, overwhelmed. The baby's crying a little bit, and you start to play "The Wheels on the Bus."
Oh yeah, right.
You started to play the melody,
and you sang,
and you kept nudging me to sing, and I'm like, Randy, no, you're singing it, and you kept playing the guitar only, and finally, I don't know what made me. I've never done that in 3 years.
Well, I should have asked you just then too, because that was horrendous.
It was not horrendous.
It was horrendous. Come on.
I know you can't see very well my screen from where you're sitting, but do you see those 5 hearts right there?
Yeah.
If you had to take a guess which one of my listeners posted those 5 hearts, could you guess who it is?
My wife.
That's
No,
that's a good guess.
It's Dawn.
Dawn Banks, huge Randy Jackson fan, and she I know she set her clock early this morning to make sure that she had the show this morning, so she could get a front row seat, so to speak, to where she is tuning into what we're doing this morning.
Dawn is awesome.
Dawn is awesome. Dawn is extreme. Dawn's daughter, Elizabeth, just a couple of weeks ago, passed her 10-year anniversary of being a patient on my floor at Stony Brook Hospital. 10 years free of cancer. Her beautiful 22-year-old daughter.
That's great.
And God bless Dawn. It's good to have you with me. Angela Oster, one of my principals on the fundraiser we're having for Emma Nelson, you heard me talk about earlier, that you're going to perform, you're going to donate a little additional time to play for our fundraiser we're having for Emma Nelson. And it's so good to have you on that, Randy. I mean, you're just a good guy in general, a great humanitarian.
I have a good front.
You have a good front. You have a good back. You have a good inside. You're an all around good guy, and that's just the way it is. And I try and surround myself with people like you, and I do a pretty good job of it.
Well, Mark, you do a lot of good work. I mean, you're over there at the hospital every week, and I think that's awesome. That's a lot of energy you put into it, and you're into it. I see you working over there. Everybody over there really appreciates you, all the nurses and especially the patients.
And their families. And as brutal as it can be, I can't wait for each Friday to get up there and do it again. And you and hundreds of other musicians in the Long Island, New York tri-state area that I've reached out to over the years to donate a few hours of your time to come up and play for these kids and put smiles on faces of children that are virtually in no mood to smile.